And that's the way John Garfield's movie career ends. Kind of like if The Roaring Twenties had been the last movie Jimmy Cagney ever made. Besides the obvious tragedy of his dying so young, just 39 years old, Garfield's death also deprived his legion of fans from seeing his continued development as an actor. He believed he was doing his best work on stage and screen in the last years of his life, including playing the lead in the original 1949 Broadway production of Clifford Odets's The Big Knife, which was pretty much modeled on Garfield's own personal and professional struggles. He played Charlie Castle, an actor whose wife has left him because he can't break free of the Hollywood rat race. The emotions, if not the details, mirrored Garfield's own predicament, and it must have been grueling for him to do more than 100 performances that culminate in the character's suicide. As for his death scene in this movie, there was enough angst about its creation to induce heart palpitations in all the participants. Right up to the end of shooting, it wasn't clear whether Nick was going to be killed by Peg's father or by the cops who've just arrived on the scene. While they were working out how to best stage it, Shelley Winters demanded a different ending, in which Peg stabs Nick to death as he tries to force himself on her in the apartment. Well, a battle of wills ensued, with director John Barry declaring that if Winters didn't play ball, he'd film the scene in a long shot using a double for her, wearing a skirt and a wig. Garfield smartly settled the matter by keeping the scene on the street, but having Peg, not her father, deliver the fatal gunshot. At least that's the way the story has been related over the years. But it wouldn't surprise me if this ending was the way it was written in the original script, especially if Dalton Trumbo did the final rewrite, because it's essentially the same climax as Gun Crazy, which the blacklisted Trumbo also worked on without credit. In her memoirs, Shelley Winters had nothing but praise for Garfield, calling him a sensitive and generous colleague. But director John Barry said Winters drove everybody nuts by having flighty fits that often put them behind schedule. Whatever the case may be, Winters is terrific in the film. She'd even pulled off a bit of subterfuge in order to get the part. When Garfield approached her about doing it, Shelley was under contract to Universal. The studio planned to put her in a film called Little Egypt, playing a belly dancer. Winters was wary that it would be a dog, but she didn't want to be put on suspension for refusing to do it. So after she'd been measured for her very skimpy wardrobe, she spent 3 days binge eating. When she went in for the final fitting, she'd put on 12 pounds and was busting out of her sheer harem pants. Universal panicked and cast Rhonda Fleming instead. And Shelley got to make this picture, after fasting for days to lose the weight. Now, it's fitting for that his final film, Garfield was working once again with the great cinematographer James Wong Howe. He'd shot several of Garfield's earliest Warner Brothers movies, including They Made Me a Criminal, Dust Be My Destiny, and Out of the Fog. He also provided the amazing camera work in Body and Soul, some of the best boxing footage ever filmed. In all, Garfield and Howe made 9 pictures together, making him the actor's most frequent behind-the-camera collaborator. Next week, I'll be back with a film starring another major Warner Brothers star of the 40s, one who also left the studio to make one of her best films on her own. Be sure to join me for the Noir Alley premiere of Sudden Fear with Joan Crawford. Until then, see you in the shadows.